become too open a space to really be effective. That a total approach of self-organized isn't really working. Because what is being called the agglutination process of getting everybody to register and then asking people to come together has not worked. Hasn't worked. One of the reasons for having the assemblies was so that you can have people from one sector coming together to try and work out statements and resolutions, like on climate change, on trade, on various issues, main axes of the forum, to come up with resolutions on these things. This is also an experiment which hasn't been that effective. Maybe it will in time. Maybe it needs more time to, but it hasn't been that effective. I believe that the social forum's open space policy is important, because the moment we don't have that, and we have seen that experience, there are people here from India and they know, to just get one statement out in an organization, in a space where there are about 35 organizations, it takes 3 days, where we discuss word, letter, sentence and word before we can have it. And how is it possible, as World Social Forum, in which 10,000 organizations come together, to have a statement which is possible, which can be agreeable to all? So it is not a possibility. It will create more rifts than unity. And then again, is that really important? Don't we have a lot of fora in which we already have these statements? Is it more important to have a place where we can actually debate, talk to each other, a space like this where we can listen to each other and talk? So I'd say that the social forum has to be that space. It has to be open, in my view, but it has to be organized so that it can really fulfill that mission. At the present moment, it doesn't seem to be doing that.
I think that's sort of opening out the next set of issues, the organizational issues following from the logical necessity of continuing with the social forum process. Samir, I'll come back to you, but we have to have a few more of the original speakers as well. So I would really like some of the older and the newer actors. So we have the American Social Forum, US Social Forum, not the American Social Forum, but the US Social Forum. So I would like you to Abina, sorry.
Oh yeah, Tunde.
Amakisi.
Oh yeah, Tunde.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay. Come in on this.
Let me just say, I feel very honored to be a part of this process. And before I heard of the United States Social Forum, I had never heard of the World Social Forum. And so a whole new world opened up to me. And what I knew to be true is that people all over the world were fighting on the front lines to create change. But how we were doing that as a collective, how are we coming together as activists, as organizers, as agents of change? How are we doing that together, sharing information, resources, and actually utilizing this as an opportunity when so many commonalities existed to work together to fight against this invasive right that is just like this dark 1984 shadow over everything. And in Detroit, where I live, it is a perfect example of the failure of capitalism. It is at a point where you talked about the movements being, how do we actually meet the needs of the people on the ground? And right now we are struggling on a very serious level. They're totally restructuring Detroit as they are on a global level. And so we wanted people to actually come to our city from all over the United States and all over the world to help us find solutions together. And so for us, it wasn't just about having a conversation. It was about what are we going to do about it other than just talk. That's where I'm at as an activist, because it feels good to talk to each other and, the mental masturbation of how deep we are and the movements and getting into the long historical conversation, putting it into political, historical, and cultural context. But then what? What are we going to do to make change? And another world is possible. I believe in that. And the people who work with us believe in that. But it's hard to bring the social forum to our city. It was hard to organize people, and we not only wanted it to just be a space to create change on a national level, we wanted to organize the people within our community to break out of silos, to break out of this is what we do it over here, and you do it over there. How do we work together so when the social forum leaves, that we have this huge impact within our city, nationally, you know, and internationally. So we've done some of those things because we're here, right? And we're learning from each other, and hopefully we're going to continue to build. But, and the organizers, the ones who joined together with, some of us worked together before, many of us had not. We're working together now on the ground, and we're challenging the system because they're trying to reorganize our entire city. They're trying to move whole communities and shut them down and plow it down and make industrial farms. And we don't have a voice, they think. They're moving our whole school systems. And so these are major changes that are happening, and they don't think that we have a voice, but through the social forum, through working together, and through understanding that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We're not waiting for the city to change it, and the city works for us, right? So how do we do this and build movements? And so when we talk about the social forum and the impact that it had, it drained our resources. We were already struggling. It was hard. How do we afford this? How do we bring people and make it accessible to the poor? And it's not just available to academics or people who have money or, you know, people who can afford the plane tickets. And that was a struggle, working, you know, trying to find alternatives. And so we're still trying to institute those alternatives into our work. And so one of the things that we're trying to find out with the World Social Forum is, what do we do beyond these conversations? What happens to the countries when you leave? What happens to the movement? How are we continuing to build in between the social forums? You know, and so this is some of the things that we're asking. And right now, we're not guaranteed that we're going to have the United States Social Forum every 3 years. We're asking those very same questions. Can we do it? Do we have the capacity to make this happen? Are we making this accessible to everyone, or is it just, you know, accessible to the same people who talk to each other on a regular basis? How do we bring people into this movement and make them a part of creating the change that we want? When we say another world, what do we imagine that to be? And so those conversations are important, but the work that goes with it, I think, is critical.
Thank you very much. I know that a lot of people, everybody here is actually a major actor in this forum. So I'm discriminating by only having some people speak first. But since we have a set of speakers already announced, so I'll ask Britt and then Marin to respond, and then we'll throw it open in case I have also William Copeland to speak, and then we'll throw it open to everybody, including Samin, who has to respond, who wants to respond. Britt.
Well, so far so good. I think, is that okay?
You just check it every time. It's only recording.
No, so far so good. I think more or less everything that's been said so far, I don't see people shuffling or wanting to walk out the door. But so I want to kind of follow up a number of people, the questions, for example, that Mina posed, some were raised also by Christoph, and of course the larger picture put out by Mr. Wallerstein and Samir. And your question also about what's really involved in actually making a forum happen and actually sustaining the impulse afterwards. I think these are very crucial. And I'd like to take your analogy of the bifurcation. You know, I do think there is, it's natural and it should be, there is a bifurcation inside the WSF, I think, you know? And I think that's fine. And I think it's a very important question for us strategically, what we do with that, no? I think there has been until now a strong consensus to sustain the WSF, make good what it's doing well, so like all the analysis, the space to share, popularize, you know, new issues, new struggles, and even new strategies. But actually, I think we've been very short on the new strategies. We're not spending enough time. Maybe there should be one axis or two axes of the WSF devoted to that, really, because I mean the question is, in the end, you know, what's to be done? You know, how are we going to do it? And I think that's a failure, actually, of the WSF. So I think it's really important for us to try to use this moment also to identify those crucial, maybe, failures, you know? And I would like, maybe when Christoph comes back, maybe to further comment, like also to look at our experience in Europe, which has not been like the experience, I think, in Mumbai. It's been partly that. I mean, we had the million who walked in the war, against the war in Firenze. We had aspects, you know, we had really a good bringing together of the South and the North, I think, in the French ESF. But, you know, and now I think we have to ask ourselves, historically also, is the ESF where we want to put our future energy for the crisis we have in Europe, you know? And maybe we have to revisit the ESF with this new demands. And in relation to that, I mean also the issues. I think in this forum, I think I agree with the delegitimization of the paradigm, the neoliberal bandwagon, etc. But I think we have not sharpened sufficiently the new elements of the capitalist. I mean, I think, in a way, the capitalists have also reinvented themselves. And the question of the green capitalism that's being rolled out, and you know, the business, the green business, the corporate capture, actually, of this phase of the crisis is very, very serious. So in a way, I mean, it's 50-50, but we need to, so like, for example, I would expect, on the analysis side, but also in a kind of impulse of organization, that this forum would give a strong sign, you know, to an impulse towards Durban and towards Rio +20, because I think those are going to be crucial political moments. And of course, in every continent, we will also have our moments. And I feel that both on the ideological and political level, we have to really sharpen, I mean, demand also of ourselves and in a way of the forum and the articulation that comes out of it to contribute significantly to deepening that kind of analysis. And then finally, I mean, well, it goes back to my first point. I mean, we can say that there's a kind of inertia around the WSF, and we stay with it because it has really good things, the best things maybe we've had in 10 years, and it's really important that we learn how to this new political culture. But the new political culture, I think, still fails to articulate on the question of strategy and organizing, and that's where I leave my points, and maybe we can continue the discussion.